Singletary in the backfield. Bills have it after a just. First and 10, that's deflected. And picked off Mosley. He'll take it in.
Now, stiff arm, and he throws down the defender.
Stiff arm's a crack. Great coach Patrick right there.
Going down again. Left Q. Red Williams.
Fighting through contact, fighting through offensive line, beating a double team, multiple moves stacked into one. Just a play of pure domination. This is actual film. This is actual football talk. It's a football show. We're supposed to talk football, not storylines.
And welcome to the second edition of Blitz. I almost called it TOJ Film Room. We are going to be doing 31 plays of Connor McGovern to start the show. I'm also going to be recapping some of the Jets free agency. I don't want to get into it a ton because I could sit here and talk about the players forever, but I'll speak about them more as I do the individual film breakdowns of them. But to just take care of some housekeeping, like I said, this is second edition of Blitz. Moved over to jetsxfactor.com, where a good amount of the content is free. Some of it is not. You have to pay for a subscription. Like I said, $5.99 a month or $50 a year. If you want to apply to be a writer there, I think you go onto the website and you go to like careers or something like that. You like submit an application, and then myself, Nanya, and Sabo will review it. And depends if you want to be paid. If you don't want to be paid, we have different criteria for each. I don't think we're looking for anybody paid yet, but if you're looking to get some, get a start and all that stuff, that would be great. We're going to be accredited by Google News most likely, so that would be pretty big if that were to happen. So if you want to get a start, put on your resume, that'd be cool for you guys. So check that out. Like I said, 31 plays of McGovern. We're going to have either Perryman or Desir next. I put out like a short vote, like a 3-hour vote, and we got like 300 votes in like an hour. And then it looks like I think Perryman is up right now 56% to 44%. So Perryman's most likely going to be the next review. Then we'll be doing Desir, and then it's either going to be Van Roten or George Fant, depending on if they sign another guy. If they do sign another guy, let's say they trade for Trent Williams, it'll probably be Perryman, Desir, Trent Williams, and we'll get into the draft guys, where I already have Judy, Ruggs, Lamb, Thomas, Becton, Wirfs, Wills, and Chason prepared. So we should run through those. I didn't want to record those reviews and not give them out to you guys. So I think more people will be interested in Judy, Ruggs, Lamb, Thomas, Becton, Wirfs, Wills than they will be in Van Roten or maybe even Fant. But if I'm wrong, tell me. Feel free to email me, comment below on the YouTube, or tweet at me. I'm sure you guys know my Twitter by now. If you're on Twitter at JoeRB31, you can also follow Michael Nanya, who's the best Jet stats guy out there, in my opinion, at Michael Nanya, MICHAEL _Nanya, NANIA. You can follow the Jets X Factor Twitter at Jets X Factor with no spaces. You can follow Robbie Sabo at Robbie Sabo, no spaces, jetsxfactor.com, no spaces. For the YouTube, just type in Jets X Factor. You'll find it. You'll see my face. You'll see McGovern reviews or whatever it may be. Like I said, the podcast app, it's now Blitz. I would like to get more reviews on there. I think for the when we get the 50th review, like I said, 5 stars is appreciated. If it's 4 stars, leave what we could do better, whatever it may be, whether it be audio, which I heard the podcast last week had some like weird, like almost like I was writing with a pencil type sound in the mic. I don't know what that was. Maybe it was the other mic, but I always try to improve that. Patreon, I have a Patreon too. On top of the subscription, I don't really expect Patreons anymore because of the subscription service, but there are a few dedicated people out there, and that helps me, pay for the laptop and the hard drive and the mic and a bunch of different things. But I don't think that's necessary really at all anymore because of the website. So I think take that money and put it towards the website. Like I said, it's 2-3 cups of coffee a month to get some of the best Jets content out there. We should have more people joining soon. I'm not going to say who, but pretty big names. And a lot of people will say there's a lot of Jets content out there, but I don't think there's Jets content like that we're providing. I think it's a lot of baseline stuff, that it's a lot of talking heads and storylines. There's not really in-depth stats or in-depth film reviews out there on Jets Twitter, to be completely honest. So you can also check out Scott Mason at Play Like a Jet 1 I just did a podcast with him the other day, basically like 50 minutes of recapping multiple signings from Phantom and McGovern to, guys like Desir. So check that out for sure. It's like a 50-minute podcast, and he does a good job over there as well. And like I said, I just want to get into here. Let me pull up a play though of McGovern, but I wanted to get into some of what the Jets did other than McGovern in the last couple of days that I have not recapped yet. Let me just pull this up so you guys are not just looking at. Okay, so some of the moves, they re-signed Hewitt to, and I'll go through, like I said, pretty quickly. Hewitt, 1-year deal, good depth signing. I think overall he's overrated by Jets fans because he shows up in broadcast angle a lot, and he makes hard hits, so people think he's better than he is. Recognition's not really there. He's decent in the run game, but not overall great because he doesn't have great movement skills. I don't think he reads things really well, but he makes some hard hits. I think he's a good depth guy, along with James Burgess, who is a guy who is a versatile linebacker. I think he could play, Will and Mike. I think he can drop into coverage. He could play a little bit of man on tight ends and running backs. I think he's more versatile. If I had to choose one, I like Burgess more than Hewitt. But those are two good depth signings. Now people are saying, okay, well, with those two guys signing, does that mean Avery Williamson's gone? I don't necessarily agree with that. I think with having 5 inside linebackers, including obviously Mosley, Williamson, Hewitt, Burgess, and now Cashman, a lot of those guys have had some injuries issues. Burgess missed like 14 games or whatever it was a couple of years ago. Obviously, Mosley missed all of last year for the most part. Williamson missed all of last year. So I think guys with injury problems, I think that's why they have 5. I don't necessarily think that trading a guy excuse me, and Williamson's is a great idea because the Jets are lacking talent overall in the roster. I think Williamson's a guy who's young enough who you could look to re-up this next year, and you have one of the best inside linebacker duos in the league. And a lot of people say, oh, well, the Jets were already the number 2 run defense in the league and already top 10. Look at the teams they played last year. It's not like we were playing an all-star caliber lineup, and defense is really it's really fluid where there's a lot of teams who finished number 1 or 2 in the league, and then the next year they finished 10. So I don't think just because they were number 2 in the league last year playing some below average teams means that we should just get rid of good pieces. And Avery Williams is not, he is better in the run game, but he's definitely offers more than that in pass coverage. I think he's a little bit underrated. I wouldn't call him good. I think he's average in that aspect, which is good enough because you have a guy like Mosley, you have guys like May and Adams who can make up for that coverage in the middle of the field, short to intermediate, whatever it may be. Obviously more Adams than May, but May they will shift up May a little bit where he's not just playing, deep third or deep half or deep fourth, whatever it may be. So I think bringing back Williamson or keeping Williamson for his relatively low cap number is a smart idea, especially, like I said, you don't have a ton of talent around the team. So I would like to keep a strength and not have to rely on a guy in Cashman who flashed last year, was inconsistent. Hewitt, who should be a backup. Burgess, who should be a backup. And when you're running, whether it be 3-4, 4-3, whatever it may be, if that second linebacker, inside linebacker, is going to see more than 50-60% of the snaps, I'd much rather have Williamson than Hewitt or Burgess, or Cashman, like I said. So don't think it's necessarily smart to just get rid of him. They re-signed Jenkins, who a lot of people were saying, I was personally thinking you get $8, $9, $10 million. They signed up for a 1-year deal for $5 million. They re-signed Poole for 1 year, $5 million. They signed Perryman for a 1-year deal, $6 million guaranteed. I think that can go up to $8 million. But a lot of people are saying with these deals, especially Jenkins and Poole, why not? And by the way, yes, I am wearing a Guardians sweatshirt. I didn't even think about that, but support my Guardians, even though hopefully the XFL makes it to this coronavirus. But by the way, the coronavirus, man, just the facial hair is getting gross. The hair is getting freaking long. I'm letting myself go because of this thing. And my work's not really caring how we look anymore because of how serious this stuff is getting. We're not really coming into contact with the public too much anymore. But a lot of people are saying, okay, well, why not sign Jenkins for a longer deal? Why not sign Poole for a longer deal? I think a lot of people just assume it's Madden and, okay, a 1-year deal equals a 2-year deal equals a 3-year deal equals a 5-year deal. The players have to agree to it. And if guys like Jenkins and Poole are feeling what they're being underpaid, which they probably are, and kudos to Joe Douglas for that and standing pat and not giving them, what they are probably asking for at the beginning of free agency, like I said, whether that be $7, $8, $9, $10 million like Mike McCagnon probably would have done. but they're betting on themselves. They don't want to take a 3-year deal at $5 million for 3 years, $15 million, because they feel like next year, if they ball out this season, they might be able to get a 3-4 year deal for $8-9 million a year. So why are they just going to automatically agree to signing a long-term extension? So I think people have to understand that Joe Douglas might have offered them 3 years, $15-16 million, maybe even 17-18, but those players rather take the shorter deal for less money to bet on themselves to cash in next offseason. So people have to realize it takes two people to tango. It's not just the Jets, if he accepts $5 million this year, then yeah, of course he's going to accept, $5 million over 4 years. That's not how it works. They let Robbie Anderson walk 2 years, $20 million with the Panthers, $12 million in the first year. The Robbie Anderson slander, and I'm not going to get into this too much because it's just frustrating. He runs one route. He gets shut down versus top competition. I showed multiple plays of him burning Chris Harris, who's a top slot corner in the league. I showed plays of him burning Jalen Ramsey, beating AJ Boye, beating Trey White. So he beats those guys. And look at his stats. He's never got 1,000 yards, because everybody likes to go to stats. But listen, when you're primarily a deep threat, he can more run routes. The route I showed versus Chris Harris, he stemmed inside, peak technique, got Chris Harris to jump inside, stemmed towards Harris. So Harris thought he was gonna try to burn him deep. He opened his hips and he flipped to the outside and caught a ball on the sideline. Like he could do things like that. So, but yes, he is primarily a deep threat, and in my opinion, a top 5 deep threat in the NFL. People, he didn't get 1,000 yards. Look at who was throwing to him or never got over 1,000 yards. Fitzpatrick can't throw a ball deep. McCown can't throw a ball deep. Darnold, if anything, is he's more consistent deep than he is short to intermediate, and he also has the worst offensive line in the league based on his snap to throw last year. So how is a deep guy going to get deep if Darnold has no time to either throw the ball or step into the throw to be able to lead him down the field 50-plus yards? So it's such a stupid argument. And then you have guys like Rich Cimini coming out, the Jets finished 32nd in offense with Robbie Anderson. Okay, and I combated that with looking up the Rams stats because I know they're bad against the run. The Rams last year, I don't know if it was 2019 or 2018. I'm going to say 2018. They gave the highest yards per carry to running backs. Guess what? Aaron Donald is trash. Get rid of him. They can't stop the run. Does that correlate? Like, does one player make a scheme? Does one player make an offense? Does one player make a receiving game? No. There's so many circumstances that come into play with that type of thing. So just to say, okay, the Rams have a bad run defense. Aaron Donald is overrated. Get rid of him. He gets paid too much. He's not that good. And obviously he's a different level of player and a different position than Robbie Anderson. Is the same thing as me saying Robbie Anderson, the Jets finished 32nd in the league. Sam Darnold's trash then too. Now Robbie Anderson's trash. Okay, and another thing I hear too is the Jets wide-side Jamal Adams. They went 7-9 last year. They never won with Jamal Adams. The first couple of years of Aaron Donald, the Rams were going 4-12 and 3-13, so he was trash too. Get rid of him. Do you see what I'm saying? Or the Falcons last year, they weren't really great. Julio Jones isn't good. Yeah, the Texans didn't make the playoffs for a couple of years. DeAndre Hopkins, trash. That's such a silly freaking argument to make that one player makes something. So we can go through a slew of good players who are on really bad teams, who aren't raising it to the next level because there's so much more. There's 11 guys on a team plus coaching plus injuries plus who they're playing plus how they scheme against them. So that's such a dumb thing to say. It's frustrating. And I have people all the time who I'm not going to just tweet back and forth with people. Robbie Anderson's trash. Look at his stats. He only does one thing. Like, okay. And then I had guys come at me, you're saying that he didn't have time to throw the ball. Look at DeAndre Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins and Robbie Anderson are on two completely separate different levels. Hopkins is the best receiver in the NFL, to me, personally. Robbie Anderson is tier 2, but one of the best deep threats. Deshaun Watson can chuck the ball up to DeAndre Hopkins because DeAndre Hopkins wins short to intermediate, and he has skills. He's a physical receiver to box guys out with strong hands to catch those balls that are tossed up. He's a 50-50 receiver. He's great at that. Robbie Anderson doesn't win that way. He wins with a deep ball. If you're telling me right now Hopkins or Robbie Anderson running a 9 route, I'm taking Robbie Anderson. Does that sound crazy? Maybe. But if you're just going based on that individual stat, I'm taking Robbie Anderson because DeAndre Hopkins can't open up an offense deep like Anderson does. Now, if it's a deep ball that you're saying is contested, I'm taking Hopkins every single day. But in terms of creating separation and getting open deep, uncontested deep balls for 90-yard touchdowns, it's Robbie Anderson all day. So you can't compare Robbie Anderson to Hopkins. You can't compare Hopkins to Thomas. You can't compare Hopkins to Diggs, to Thielen, to whoever else are your top receivers. Every guy wins in different ways. So you can't just say, oh, well, look at Hopkins. No shit. Hopkins is completely different. So it's such a frustrating thing. I have to take some advice from Nanya. He doesn't respond to people. I don't like letting dumb people feel like they're right. I don't know what it is about me. I've gotten a little bit better, but when people respond, I just start boiling a little bit. I've been better at muting people, but Jesus, man, some of those arguments about Robbie Anderson not being a good receiver are just absolutely crazy. And I don't think going to the Panthers with Teddy Bridgewater throwing deep balls is necessarily going to use Robbie Anderson to his strengths, to be completely honest. But he wanted to go there with Matt Rule, and this is another thing that people look at free agency as way too black and white. Oh, well, they signed him for 2 years, $10 million per year. Why didn't the Jets sign him to that? That's, again, black and white. You're assuming that the Jets offering that same price would get him here. What if the Jets offered him $12, $13 million a year, but Robbie Anderson wanted to bet on himself for that 2 years, and he wanted to reunite with his coach at Temple? So you don't know what the Jets offered him. And you might have rumors from Boomer Esiason, from Manish, from Samini. I don't care about that. We don't know what actually happened. So maybe they did offer him that, and Robbie Anderson wouldn't take it. And Joe Douglas didn't want to pay that Jets tax and have to overpay for guys to come here. So maybe he had more faith in Perryman at $6 million on a short-term deal than Robbie Anderson on a short-term deal for, let's say, maybe he was offering up to $11, $12, $13 million. So you don't know what happened behind the scenes. So it's not as black and white as if the Jets offered him $11 million, $1 million more dollars than the Panthers offered him, he'd be back here. That's not necessarily the case. Now, I would have loved for him to come back for sure for a long-term deal, whether it be 4 or 5 years, because he has that connection with Darnold. He's one of the best deep threats in the NFL. He's a good number 2 receiver. I don't like the number 1, number 2, because it's really, you have H-back, Z, you have slot, you have inside slot, you have X. I get it by the number 1 target type deal, but Robbie Anderson's still an upper tier wide receiver, and and I would love to have him on the Jets, but obviously he's not anymore. He's with the Panthers, so it's not as black and white as, oh, just sign him. That's, you never know what happened behind the scenes. So now with that, Perryman, I'm early in his film. I'm more encouraged. Like, there's some guys who I'm less encouraged with than watching, and more encouraged with watching, like guys like Van Roten and Desir. I'm saying I'm lower on than other people are. Maybe I'm pretty early in Roten, so we'll see what happens with that. But with guys like him and Desir, like I said, maybe a little bit lower on. Desir, I think, is a little bit overrated. He gives me like Morris Claiborne 2017 vibes. Where like, okay, he's a decent number 2, but he's a bend but don't break guy where he's gonna get beat underneath often. That's kind of what Desir is to me. But I'm also a little bit higher on Fant than people, just based on what I watched in 2018 to mid 2019 to late 2019. I think he took some legitimate steps for a guy who's so raw at the position. That's really nice to see. So you're hoping you can build on that. Now, I don't want him going into the season as the starting left tackle or right tackle. I think what the Jets will do, whether it be through trade, bringing in Jason Peters, I think they're going to address the tackle spot. Most likely through the draft at pick 11, you're hoping one of the top 4 guys falls. You have that guy start at left tackle or right tackle, whatever. Maybe if it's Wirfs or Wills, they play at left or at right tackle, and then if it's Thomas or Becton, they play at left tackle. So I think one of those guys will come in and start at one of those positions, and then you most likely have Fant and Adoga compete for their spot. And then you have a good backup swing tackle, which, backup swing tackle and Fant at $8 million is probably $9 million is probably too much. I would have been more comfortable with him at $6, $7 million. Because that's what backup like swing tackle, a good one, is going for nowadays. But I think it's kind of a contingency plan where they wanted to ensure that they had another guy on that line. So it's a little bit of an overpay, but I liked his film a little bit more than some other people, especially, like I said, the steps he took. I don't think at the end of the season, 2019 season, is elite by any means, but just go and watch week 17, 2018. If you're bored, you should be quarantined. And even if you don't know a lot about film, go watch him week 17, 2018, and then watch him week 17, 2019. Look at the steps he took, and you don't have to have a great eye to see that. So encouraging. And then with Perryman, which I started this topic on, I'm a little bit more encouraged with him. I think, he was drafted in 2016 or whatever it was, 17. He got injured for his whole rookie year. Second year didn't produce much. I think then his third year he went to the Browns and didn't play much there. He did okay. Or 18 he went to the Browns, and then 19 he went to the Bucks. And I'm early in the Bucks season. I think I have it in my notes right here. I watched week 3, 8, 9, 10. I'm on week 11, and that's before he went off. And I think he was doing okay. He didn't look bad even when he wasn't getting the ball. But having guys like, OJ Howard and Bray and obviously Godwin, and having Mike Evans, he was looked at as a third, fourth, fifth option. So, but I think there was some encouraging signs there. He's a little bit not, I would say, inconsistent with his routes. But he has some really good physical tools, obviously, with his size. He's 6'2", 215, really, really fast guy. In the combine, I think he ran like a 4.24, 4.26, 4.27, whatever it was. He was in the 4.2s, which is really impressive for his body size. He's pretty interesting. So that's going to be the next review I do. It's Wednesday now. I'll probably put it up Thursday and Friday, so maybe I'll come back and do it on Saturday, and then hopefully Desir on a Monday. I'm gonna have to start pumping out shows every couple of days because, like I said, I want to get out at least Perryman, Desir, and Fant or Roten, and then the 8 draft guys I have done. If there's a 9th guy, it might be CJ Henderson, but we'll see. So other than that, I don't think there's too much I didn't leave out. I think the only thing I could share is my opinion on what they could do the rest of free agency, which I'm going to keep updating my phone to see if they do anything in the next hour or so that I'm doing the show. But I think what's remaining is addressing some depth in a lot of key areas. But overall, the positions I really want to see them address are cornerback. I don't know if they're going to grab a cornerback in the first 4 rounds of the draft. I legitimately might think it might be O-line, receiver, O-line, or O-line, receiver, O-line, receiver. I think they're going to go offense at least out of 3 of those first 4 picks. Maybe it's an outside linebacker in a corner, but that's such an unknown that I would really like to sign another corner. A lot of people will say, again, it's just the simplicity of people's minds. Oh, well, Greg Williams played well with Mollett and Bless Austin, whatever. Look at who they were playing. They're not playing the receivers and the teams we're playing this year. So you're not going to be able to run simple concepts, not asking them to think a lot and press at the line of scrimmage and get aggressive against some of the top teams and top receivers are playing this year. So let's add another corner. I think Desir's a decent stopgap number 2. And I don't think they're getting a number 1 at this point, but I'd be much more comfortable with a cornerback like Amukamara over guys like Blessed Austin, who produced for a couple of games and then got benched and has injury problems, like Mollett, who is 28 years old and never produced. He's a journeyman guy, and he might have caught a little bit of a lightning in a bottle there, but I'm not going to count on him to produce as a number 2 for all of 2020 season. It's just crazy. So Amukamara is a guy I'm looking for the Jets to sign, or any other cornerback who's a stopgap type guy. I think a guy like Curry, Vinny Curry from the Eagles, that obviously Joe Douglas is familiar with. I think it's a smart ad. Like I said, they signed back Jenkins, who for $5 million I think is worth it. I think he's an okay pass rusher, a good run setter. I think he's a decent outside linebacker, which is okay. You can't have superstars at every position, but I think adding another guy, especially if you're losing Brandon Copeland, who signed with the Patriots and seems like a great guy. Good luck to him. Just not against the Jets, or really not ever, because he's with the Patriots, to be honest. But he's a good guy. But I like Basham and things like that. But I think having a guy like Vinny Curry would be nice, because he's older. I think he's 30, 31. But when he rushes the passer, he's still really efficient, getting hits and pressures and things like that. So I think that would be a good ad. Looking at outside linebackers just to fill a spot for cheap. Trent Williams, trading for Trent Williams or Jason Peters, I think is a smart move for the Jets. It gives them more flexibility in the draft, where let's say, they really want Wirfs, Wills, or let's say Becton at 11 or Thomas at 11, whichever way it may be, and they're left with one guy that they don't really feel is a scheme fit. That gives you freedom if you sign one of those guys to let Williams or Peters start at left tackle, let Adoga and Fant compete for right tackle, and then maybe they love Judy and they take him. Maybe it's not Judy. Maybe it's Chason. They want to address outside linebacker there, but I think getting one of those guys shores up the offensive line and really makes me feel much more comfortable, because at this point, whether Jets fans want to hear it or not, they still have a below average offensive line. I think the only plus starter they have right now is McGovern, who's probably in that 8 to 12 range. I haven't done film on all the centers, so I don't really know. But you're looking at left tackle and Fant. Let's just say it's Fant. He was super inconsistent. And can he take that next step? Yes. But if you had to bank your house, bank your bank account, bank your house on him being above average to average, would you? Probably not. I wouldn't. So that's below average. Alex Lewis, below average. Let's be honest. He's a backup type player who may be below average starter type guy, but every time the Jets got a big play last year, it seems like he wiped it out with a holding call or whatever it may be. So he's below average. Connor McGovern, plus starter, like I said. Brian Winters or Van Roten, below average, let's be honest. And then Adoga at this point is below average with steps. I think he can take steps in the right direction. That's another thing. Like I said, I'm just kind of ranting, but it's a lot of things coming out that I just heard of people, cut Chuma Adoga. He's trash. He was a third round pick, a fourth round pick, and people shouldn't have to look back any further than last year on how guys in later rounds or even first round guys, whatever it may be, may develop. Look at guys like Fadukasi and Shepard. Look at the steps they took in their second year. So Adoga can't take a step up in the right direction. That's crazy. People develop. And another thing, talking about the draft, is a lot of people saying with Robbie Anderson, which I didn't even think about, we'll just draft a wide receiver. Is it really that easy? Did a lot of people think Corey Coleman was going to be legit? Did a lot of people think Kevin White was going to be legit? Did a lot of people think even Sammy Watkins, I think, who for his draft stats hasn't lived up to it? Hayward Bay. How many draft busts has there been in the first round who people, I'm sure at the time, are saying, he's legit top 10. You don't have to worry about anything. Turn out to bust. So now you're going to say all these guys in the second and third round are going to be top-notch wide receivers no matter what? That's such a foolish thing to say that, just replace Robbie in the second or third round. Like, those guys are automatically going to be as good as him. And a lot of people with Perryman said, Perryman was a first-round pick. Robbie Anderson was an undrafted free agent. He's more talented. Okay, then is Tom Brady a sixth-round pick? So Tom Brady is not as good as Geno Smith, who's drafted in the second round. Like, such simple-minded, shallow arguments I've been hearing over. And Jets Twitter drives me crazy, where I wish I can just interact like people who I like Joe Olivo and Charmin and Michael Nania and Spotty Blackman, who's been reposting some of my work and seems like a knowledgeable guy. So I appreciate all those people, but the 98% of other Jets Twitter, I just mute everybody and let them enjoy my work if they do, and leave them alone, because some of those arguments that, it's just so easy to grab a wide receiver. Yes, let's just replace him. Like, there's guys in the second round like Van Jefferson or maybe even Ruggs, or maybe any of these guys can be a bust. Now, if you have a trained eye and maybe you trust it, great, but you don't know for sure if a guy is going to be good. Now, I trust myself more than maybe the average, well, maybe not more than the average Jets fan does, but you don't know if Ayuk or Van Jefferson or any of these guys, or whoever it may be, Mims, are going to be automatically better than Robbie Anderson. Absolutely crazy to say, by the way. Absolutely crazy, because Kevin White, if he was in this draft, everybody's, oh my God, just get him. And they got him. And if he produced like he did for the Bears, people would be pissed. So let's just not just assume that guys in the draft are automatic locks to be superstar good wide receivers. That's absolutely nuts. Stephen Hill, a bunch of guys like I could go back to, and you could say, the Jets drafted poorly in those years, and that's not the same GM. Listen, man, I like Douglas, and I like how he's attacking the offensive line. And I think he's been relatively smart. I don't agree with every move. Maybe chalking up some more money for Conklin would have been smart. Maybe signing Glasgow would have been smart. Maybe pointing up for Robbie Anderson, if he would have taken it, would have been smart. I don't know what happened behind the scenes. But the Eagles, look at and we don't know how much say he had. He's very widely regarded as the best GM candidate in the pool last year. The Jets got him for a ton of money. But the Eagles are struggling at wide receiver. They probably have one of the bottom receiving corps in the entire NFL, which I don't know how much he has to do with, but we're just going to assume he's great at drafting wide receivers and every guy's going to work out. That's just bananas to me. But I don't know why I went off on that, but Williams or Peters would be great. I would be willing to trade a third-round pick and maybe a fifth next year, whatever it may be, for Williams. He's 32 years old. He's had some injury problems, but he's one of I think he's still top 5 when he's healthy, maybe top 10. because he didn't play last year, but he is legit and he's rested. So I would love to add him. Peters is 38 years old, but for a year or two, I still think he's an upper tier left tackle as well. Wide receiver depth, as we were talking about. Listen, I think Enunwa is a solid number 2, a decent role player when he's healthy. He hasn't been healthy, so you can't bet on that. And past him and Perryman, who has had some injury problems too and has been inconsistent throughout his career, you don't have Demarius Thomas anymore. You have a bunch. You have what the hell is that guy's name? Vincent Smith. Like who do they have? So I think even with the draft being deep, I think pointing up $3, $4, $5 million for a receiver like a Paul Richardson, like a Taylor Gabriel, like a Rashad Higgins, like a Geronimo Allison would be smart thing. I don't want people. I can already hear people on Twitter. If I say that on Twitter, oh my God, you think these guys are good? Like what the hell? No, I'm saying those guys as 3rd, 4th, 5th receivers aren't the worst thing in the world. There's a difference between wanting a depth signing and me saying, oh, these guys are legitimate number 1s. So I think bringing in one of those guys would be smart for the Jets. But I think that's it. Like I said, I don't want to spend too long on it, but I think I kind of just spent like half an hour or so on that. So talking to myself, but looking at the 31 other plays of McGovern, like I said, a little bit rusty last time. Hopefully I'm not as rusty this time, but I was not breaking down film on a show like this for a little while. So let's see how this works out today. I know this is a bucket step, as we said, and if you're just watching this show and you didn't watch the last one, part 1 is up on Jets X Factor on YouTube, on the podcast app. Like I said, Blewett Blitz. 5-star reviews or even ratings are awesome. It gets me out to more people listen, more people subscribe. The more money the website gets, the better quality microphones, computers I get, the better writers we get. So it benefits you for our subscriber. Definitely just to throw easy. Go on the podcast app, even if you watch on YouTube, hit 5 stars, done. But if you didn't catch last week, I listed the strengths and weaknesses and things like that. So I'm not going to do that again this week, but we talked about the bucket step last week. It's going to come backwards and almost split his legs right there, allows him to drive off of that foot and open his hips. He opens his hips. He's blocking this 2I right here. He works laterally because he doesn't want to work towards him and not be able to cover the play side. You have to give some ground to gain some ground. Works laterally, gets his left arm into the chest, it seems, and he's not able to fully land that left arm on the chest to work as that pivot point. But he still is getting low, working off of this instep. And is able to reach him and cover ground, eventually getting that left hand into the chest, and setting up for the running back. So good job by McGovern. And people even commented on this. Oh well, he didn't get far in the run. It's not a good play. Man, some people, an incompletion, no matter if Sam Darnold rolled out, broke 15 tackles, threw it up with perfect accuracy and zip to whoever the receiver being, he drops it. It's an incompletion, not a good play by Darnold. That's the simplicity of people thinking. So good job reaching him right here, bucket step, working his hips around, sinking and working that instep of the outside foot. Really good job by him there. Let's run through these. Damn, looking at myself on camera, I got to freaking shave. I'm not a guy who's been blessed with good facial hair. So 33. All right, good and bad. All right, so I can already tell he's overcommitting. Yeah, so like I said, for the most part, he's pretty damn good with stunts and picking them up and not overcommitting and playing long. But there are a few examples of him not, and it doesn't show up too often, but I do want to point it out. I don't want to just be a homer and put up 62 plays that are good of McGovern. I want to put up the bad as well. I try to be as unbiased as I possibly can with film reviews. I don't try to lie in them. I think it'd be pretty foolish to put the work I do into it and then lie about players and only put up their good plays and then overhype them and things like that. But I like the left hand punch, how he gets into there. I like how he gets his right hand into the shoulder. You can see that he has the one tech off balance, and right there he should just finish this block right here. He's shoving him into 65 right here. Drop that post a bit and get square to the line of scrimmage. He doesn't do that. He continues with the block and they're running, which I don't. To me, it doesn't look like it's supposed to be like a TE stunt. It looks like it just happens that way where this guy gets hit by him. He's like, okay, I'm just gonna loop into the middle. To me, that's what it looks like it was, because he wasn't trying to penetrate hard or anything like that. I just think that that's what ended up happening. So good left hand into there. pushes him. He needs to get square now. He gets square too late, overcommits, and then this guy loops around and he ass blocks him. He just, again, smart for him to not try to flip his hips right here because he's just too compromised right now. So he turns and just tries to get in the way. And Flacco's able to, or he's not able to, which he needs to get rid of the ball right here. Flacco's not good. I don't want him as a backup. I just don't. A lot of people last couple of weeks have just completely forgotten about Trevor Simeon, and it's because he got injured in the Browns game. But Trevor Simeon, he was a starter with the Broncos. So I think like in his starts, he was like 16 touchdowns, 14 picks, which like I said, stats aren't everything, but he's not a bad backup to have. So let's not forget about Simeon, but Matt Moore, Simeon, I rather have over a guy and Joe Flacco. So good and bad by McGovern on this play. This is the good. This is the bad. That's the good. Trying to recover is the good part. The smarts to do that, but Flacco just takes that sack when he should have just chucked that ball to the feet of that receiver, shallow right there. So it's probably a good angle. Too fast. Yeah, okay. So they're running a lead outside zone, and McGovern doesn't have any threat. He doesn't have to, especially with outside zone. If this was inside zone, he's going to block back to the one tech. And a lot of people, there's like misconceptions about zones and things like that. They don't always have the zone step to their left, no matter what. If it's an inside zone, tight zone, he doesn't always have to go to the left. In the scenario, this is an inside zone, tight zone. He would block back, and then these guys would turn into man blocks. That's still a zone play, but there's man blocking into it and him blocking back. So there's different rules. It's good to know. So this play, because it's an outside zone and the aiming point is the outside, he's not going to assist on this, and he's not going to assist on this. He's just going to the second level, to the Mike backer. And again, good angle. Like this is what like Scarnecchia talks as straight line blocking. But right here, he needs to be wider in his base and flip his hips to this guy. See how he just overruns him and he shoots underneath of him. He needs to get more square right here. Be a little bit more, in control. Again, a little bit top heavy. Not too much here, but I need to see him be more square because yes, the angle could be high for him to come over top and to get the running back outside. But you also would account for him undercutting you as well, which he undercuts him. So he needs to be more square on the second level right there. Play 35. Inactive feet. I think this Colts game is probably the game he struggled with probably the most. This is a rough, not necessarily the best game for Connor McGovern. And here, okay, good job blocking down. Good leverage right there. And this is what I was talking about last week. What you really want is you want your shin and your upper body on the same plane. Like you want to be like parallel lines. So you have a parallel line with your shin, both be on parallel lines. You don't want you want your shin parallel to your upper body because that's just not how it works. You want a parallel line and a line, and they have to be parallel. You want this angle. If you look at, you have to look at my mouse for this. I'm not going to try to explain this. I'm not good with angles and degrees and things like that. This angle from his knee up through his center of gravity, you want to be the same angle reverse as your hip into your lower part of your leg. So this angle, if you flip it, you want to be almost the same as that angle, which it is. And your shin and your upper body working into the guy, that's the pressure with your hands. That's fighting the force against the force. Your thigh being back like that is balancing out your center of gravity. Because if your thighs were straight and in line with your shins, you're going to be falling over. Try to stand like that, leaning on your toes, like the Michael Jackson pose. That's why people can't do it and you fall over. So his thighs being back like that balances out his center of gravity, which is his hips, and it also acts as like a shock absorber type deal right there. So good leverage right there, and I didn't explain that as well last week. That's why I wanted to see a block and explain that. And then he rolls his hips up through it. But the problem with me here is, okay, you have him blocked, and if anything, he's gonna have to scrape over the top to make this this tackle. So I would like to see him shuffle here and work his hips to get higher into the play. not higher into the play, but cover the ground that he needs to. So I like to see his, him shuffle his right and his left right here, so he can't scrape over the top to make this tackle. He is able to scrape over the top and make the tackle. Exactly why he needs to work his hips and his body upfield a little bit while staying, at the angle he is in terms of his hips being pointed towards number 96 right here. So stump pickup. The next play, like I said, only 31 plays, so relatively short show. Perryman should be about 40 to 50 plays. Maybe we'll just bang that all out in one show. Let me know what you think about the mic quality, by the way, too. Like I said, I go off on a bunch of different things, but I'm not using this little thing right here, which apparently is supposed to upgrade your mic. You had it over here, but I think that's what's making the scratchiness. So if it sounds good enough, let me know, and I'll just keep it like this so you don't hear any of those sounds, and I don't have to worry about it. So, okay, so this is a much better stump pickup from him, and this is what he typically does. So they're sugaring the A-gap right here with the linebackers, and he's sliding to his left in his gap protection. That's what he's tasked with right now. It looks like you have man, him filling that A-gap if the linebacker was the blitz, and then these guys are going to slide over and gap protection right here. So McGovern goes to his left, gets his right hand into the rib cage. Again, the perfect place is the hip, but you don't want to have to reach for the hips. If you have a better base and hit the ribs, that's fine too. Ribs is a good area. Ribs, armpit, hip. Plays long, nice and long. That little called a cross shove if you want. It's not necessarily a cross shove because his hips aren't completely square to the line of scrimmage, but plays long. Pushes him completely, throws him out of the play. Literally throws him out of the play. So now the guard doesn't have to worry about him. Throws him out of the play. Stays square. Eyes up. Sees number 93 as a looper. Gets square. Punch in the chest. Nice space, and finishes and keeps up with that block. So good job for sure by McGovern on that one. 37 top heavy. Showed you a couple examples of it already. Let's see what this one is. Yeah, so like I said, when you're leaning into blocks like that and you get shed to the ground, whether it be by a pull or a chop or a swipe, then that's showing me that you're too top heavy. So right here, when I say that when not, and this is what I said in his strengths and weaknesses, which I saw this a couple times, when not engaged, I think he's too high in his stance. You can see he's standing almost straight up right here. I'd like to see his feet more wide. You see he has a narrow base right now, standing up a little bit high. And I also think he comes to the outside right here a little bit too much. I would like to see him be a little bit closer to the center. But if he was more wide in his base while he wasn't engaged, he would have an easier time dropping that post kick. If you're looking on, which I appreciate the people who listen to the podcast. I don't understand how you take as much as you do if you're watching it. I know the shows are long, and some people have said they're a little bit long. You're quarantined or whatever. If you're that dedicated to the Jets, break it up into 4 20-minute shows. If I do one a week, that's like the Locked On Network where they do one 20-minute show every day or 30-minute show. Break my show up into this, and then you'll actually have knowledge of film to know what you're talking about instead of just, Pro Football Focus, or, oh my God, this wide receiver has 700 yards. That means that he's not as good as the receiver with 800 yards. But I'm not going to go off on that again. So a little bit high, has a tough time dropping his post. And I think his feet become a little bit inactive here where he's leaning. I'd like to see him more active in his feet and be a little bit more upright. He gets his hands swiped and he's leaning too much, and he lets up a quarterback hit. So not the best play from him. Like I said, the Colts game was the game I think he struggled the most on. Let's see. Good run block, Mike zone. Okay. Yeah, so on like a typical if this was a lead play, these guys would probably ace combo block this one tech and then work up to the mic, because that's usually what happens in zone. They're working to the mic, the center. And then they're going to leave this guy unblocked. He's going to try to kick him out, and then bar right here is unblocked, and that's the lead part of the zone. In the mic zone, they're going to block around the mic backer, and they're not going to work to him. Whereas these guys are probably trying to work up to the backside backer right there. They're leaving the mic unblocked. So the aiming point of this zone is the interior. And like I said, the benefit of zone is, depending on how the defense lines up and reacts both pre-snap and post-snap, a zone allows you more flexibility than a man blocking scheme does, but zone is a little bit more complicated than those man blocking schemes, gap schemes. So in this block, if number 96 was to shoot hard on the backside A gap, keep him on the backside A gap. The backer's going to fill. The Mike backer is going to fill what number 96 doesn't. The one tech doesn't. So he comes backside, block him backside. He defines himself to the play side A gap. Take him to the A gap. He's working hard over top. You see McGovern opens up. He doesn't get directly into him. He gets nice and square with him, gets his hands inside. He takes himself into the A gap, and McGovern lets him take him there. Watch his hands rework right here. Hand into the rib cage, into the armpit instead of being in front of him. It's harder to push this guy to the right side or to the defender's right with his hand there than if it was, than if he were to reset his hand into the rib cage like he does right here, takes it into the rib cage and keeps moving him, defining the gap. He defines that gap for him. Look, moving him. That is a good block. It's little things that count. His footwork at the beginning is good. He's not fighting for the A gap, takes his hand into that rib cage, into that armpit and moves him. When he does that, he moves him from here. If you just watch him, the entire play, number 96 right there, he moves him a good 1 or 2 yards. And look, the running back has literally a foot off of his inside hip. So he defines that gap for the running back, who gets close to the to the 2 yard line, or so he only gets the touchdown. This is where he's talking about, okay, well, maybe McGovern helped him. And McGovern is looked at as an average blocker in the run game. I think he's average, but he has some flashes of brilliance, and he has some flashes of not being so great. So that's why I understand. But he has some good plays, and this is a really good play. Defines that gap for him, and he gets right to the goal line right there. So good job by McGovern. Next play. Power, 3rd and 1. Okay. Yeah, so this is just leg drive right here. So this is a quarterback sneak on 3rd and 1, and it's different blocking in this scenario because you know that this guy's just going to lunge straight into you, or split the A gap with like that diamond technique of trying to beat that combo. So you have to come off the ball low, and the benefit of this play is you're not going to have to stay into the block for long, so you can be off balance. If that guy's not there, you have the first down on a quarterback sneak, so you have to just explode off the ball and get lower. Even if you're bending from the hips, whatever it may be, fine. Throws a shoulder into him and just drives his legs forward. And it only moves him a little bit, but look how it moves 94. Now the quarterback has that room. So good job, one exploding off the snap, staying low, and just driving. Even for those 2 steps, he drives number 94, which I think is Lendell Joseph, right? Out of that gap. So good job against a top-notch defender right there. All right, next play again against the Vikings. Oh, a little bit too fast right there. All right, so another stunt pickup, so sliding to his left, picks up the one tech. Again, good base into the block, angles, and with both that shin's a little bit more upright, but that's he's just bracing off the instep, so that's fine. Left hand inside. Eyes up, and he's, like I said, he's really aware. He keeps his eyes up. He doesn't duck his head into blocks and not be able to see what's coming. Again, there are a few bad examples of the stump pickup that's going to happen. The best receivers in the NFL, the best hands, whether DeAndre Hopkins is going to have a drop, or Larry Fitzgerald has drops over the years. And again, I'm not comparing him directly to it, just what comes to mind. There's going to be bad examples, but you'd like to see a little bit less, but it's definitely not a weakness. It's still a strength. So good job getting his left arm into him. And it's the little things that, like, you see how patient he is with his block. He doesn't panic, which 66 needs to be more on balance right here. He gets a little shove right there, and he's off balance, which I think is Risner. Risner did not look good to me. The left guard, right guard of Denver was not impressive to me. So he gets his left arm inside, And just that little bit right there, you see his left hand onto the shoulder, like that little bit of like him not panicking means something to me. He's a smart player. He's confident in his ability to drop his post and things like that. So he shoves him to 66, again, playing pretty long, keeping his hips square to line of scrimmage, drops that post, right hand inside, and he picks it up. He doesn't have to do much work to it, but good job right there, keeping his eyes up, keeping his hips square to the line of scrimmage. Good hole opened. This is coming against the Bills now, who's going to be a frequent opponent of McGovern going forward, hopefully for the long term. Again, and like Lindsley is okay. I think Freeman's overrated. If they were to sign, the Jets were to sign Freeman, Royce Freeman, I don't think he's the best running back. He's not that great at reading things, but here you have McGovern take that zone step. That's almost more of like a brace step because he's expecting quick contact from that one that slanted one, and good job by him not reaching for this block and not panicking. Again, a lot of guys, you see this guy crossing his face and they're trying to automatically work into him because they're panicking. They don't know what's going on, but he's a quick processor. He knows the run. That's not the aiming point. If this guy wants to define himself in the backside egg, great, because that's what you're going to try to do anyway. You're going to try to get in front of him and define. So they run this tight zone right here, which the Broncos really do like the exaggerated punch step from the running back, and then running with the angle of the track of the running back a little bit more shallow and or vertical, whatever you want to say. So he lets the the slanted one tech define himself, gets his right arm in, gets a good extension, and look at his eyes. So now number 65 is going to react to that. He's going to overtake that block. So good job with like that stuff. Like you can call this like a cross shove into a stuff. You can call it just a stuff. But when you're keeping yourself square like that, and you're throwing him into the next gap for the guard, one of the guards, I call that he's stuffing him. So he stuffs him into number 65 right there. Keeps his hands on him while square. Eyes onto that linebacker who's going to try to scrape over the top. Shuffle. Instead of being too high and things like that, which you have to move a little bit fast for linebackers. I don't necessarily love his feet crossing right there, but still he gets the job done. And the running back doesn't pick the right hole, in my opinion. This is a big hole. Now, yes, you'd have to have. For me, the reason for this is I would like to see the footwork of the running back be a little bit more choppy, which allows for quick change of direction instead of these big hops right here. You're not able to change direction quickly, but this is a huge hole. If number 14, which I think is Sutton, holds that block, it's a safety to beat. So even though this looks open at the time as well, but this would have been a better hold to run through, but still a decent run. But really good job by McGovern right there for the reasons that I stated. Next play, combo and climb. All right, yeah. So they're running a Bob zone. It's like you have the lead zones, the outside linebackers or whoever's on the edge right there. You have the Mike zones, the blocker working back to the backside backers with what I refer to as Bob zones. There's boss zones for the secondary. There's wham zones. There's a bunch of different type of zones. This is a Bob zone, and again, if there was a one tech right here, McGovern would work to the one tech because there's no one tech. There's nobody threatening in that gap. And like the way I like to describe it for zone is, if your heads up on him, if it depends on, again, the zone play, but it's just the very simplistic way to describe this is 10% of the time you're going to block back. I think it's the rule of like 10, 30, 60 or something like that, whatever it is. But 10% of the time you're going to block back if you don't have a guy right here. So there's no guy right here. So he's blocking back. It's not a zone because of that. It's because of how the defensive front uses that ricochet technique where he's going to drop that outside foot, work off the instep and shove his shoulder right into him. Good ricochet technique generates some power. You can see the little bit of pop it delivers to the backside one. Eyes onto the second level. As soon as he does that, he's staying square. He's not overcommitting to that ricochet block. Works to the second level, and as soon as the linebacker closes more ground, he shows him that short area of explosiveness. Boom, drops himself right into gets himself right into the chest of of Tremaine Edmonds right there and completely takes him out of the play. So if number 72 right here, which terrible block right there. I don't know what the hell he's trying to do. If he was to block this guy, this is most likely a pretty big run right here because he wouldn't have to bend himself inside then outside. He would have been able to hit it. You have Friedman who would be blocking the backside backer right there, and you have a huge run, but it doesn't work out because the 72 is not good on this play at least. So, but a good job by McGovern nonetheless. So the play 43 again. We only have 18 plays left. This would be shorter. I think like 30 play reviews, 40 play reviews are good. Maybe I'll start breaking them up more than I do, but works at a good angle. Okay, so again, we see the bucket step. If there's a bucket behind him, he's oh, hold on. Let me pause this real quick. Getting a phone call. All right. And while I got that phone call, the Jets apparently signed Patrick Amnuwaso. It seems like the R is silent in the end. Don't really know a ton about him yet. I know he's 27 years old, 4th season, played with the Ravens, was the backup inside linebacker to C.J. Mosley, was a safety in college. From what I saw and what Nania said, because he's the stats guy, he was, one of the lead inside backers for the Ravens in the first couple of weeks of the 2019 season. Struggled a little bit, and then when he came back from an injury, I think he was injured for like 2 games. He was a backup. So, and from based on what Ravens fans are saying, he is a guy who is a versatile guy, can play the run, can blitz. He can play in coverage. He's a little bit of a liability in coverage. He was their like lead defensive communicator during those first couple of weeks, and they struggled because of it. But maybe if he's in a reserve role, he'd be good. I don't know how this fares for Avery Williamson. I'm hoping that it's more that they want him as a 3rd string guy. Like I said, I like Avery Williamson, but I don't want it to be now Mosley and Amwaso or whatever his name is to be the lead guys. But then again, I haven't watched his film yet, so I don't really know. But I'm hoping he's more of that 3rd string guy competing with Burgess, Cashman, and Hewitt for a roster spot or for playing time. But like I said, played safety in college. Is like he's a lighter guy. I think he's like 6'3", 225 or something like that. So not the he's not like a Sam Backer or a guy who's going to be a Mike Backer. Maybe Mike Backer, or you see it in like nickel sets and things like that. But they just signed him. So it's a 1-year deal. Again, like I said, Joe Douglas is just filling spots, and he's going to have a lot of work to do in the draft. He's betting on the draft a lot, but I don't think he wants, to commit the guys for long-term deals when he wants to build the draft and build the roster up that way. It's putting a big emphasis on the draft, but there's a big emphasis on the draft no matter what, whether you're setting heavy in free agency or not. There's still a big emphasis, into that draft. So interesting move. And it kind of brings me back to the point of like, with Poole, I was saying before, Poole is a guy who a lot of people want to see for a longer term deal. But 1, he's betting on himself for a year, and 2, if you're going to say, oh, well, they should have paid him longer for a longer term deal, let's say $8-9 million for 3-4 years. Listen, that's risky to me. I don't love how he's only here for 1 year, and you kind of have to risk it, and going into next year, you're not really sure what's going to happen. But at the same time, a guy who was pretty inconsistent in Atlanta came to the Jets and played well. Now, and I think he did play pretty well, but you also had guys like, Bless Austin around him, and Mollett and Darryl Roberts and Tremaine Johnson. So maybe his numbers look a little better than he was because he was decent in coverage where they were bad, so he wasn't targeted as much. Signing a guy with 1 year of good production as to compared to, the 2-3 years before that being pretty inconsistent, paying that guy a lot of money is risky to me. So, but again, signed Patrick Amnuwaso, backup inside linebacker type. Hopefully it's not to take over, Avery Williamson's spot, but if it is, they save $7 million. They pour that money into, cornerback or into offensive line, or if they pour that into outside linebacker, I can get it, but I like Avery Williamson more than some others. I like the angle that he works at here. Again, we're seeing a bucket step off of the snap. Again, he's working laterally, not up the field, because he doesn't want to engage too quickly and not be covering the play side. So he needs to work laterally. gets his hand into underneath number 98, which is Lutulele, I think. Lutulele, I think that's how you say it. Left hand into the ribs. And I like the angle he works at here. He's overtaking this block, and he's not able to completely cover, but I like that he is working both laterally and upfield at the same time. You're gonna see it here. He's working hard to get in front of him and working upfield. Because if he just stopped his feet and tried to just jump in front of him, he's gonna get bull rush right. He's gonna get pushed right into him. So he's working upfield and laterally at the same time. So I like that angle, and it takes Lutulele out of the play. Jeez. 44, this is the overlap technique, at least from what I labeled it as. I don't really know what I'm going to see here. Again, I showed this in the last review. This seems like such a small thing, but it's so big in like offensive line, communication, continuity. This is like what you want is, again, he's sliding to his right. He shoots with his left hand. It looks like he partially lands it, but it gets wiped away. And look at his right hand. That right hand on that right guard is telling him, like I said, basically, I'm here. If you have to help the right tackle, go help the right tackle. If that hand wasn't there, now maybe he overcommits. Maybe number 93 beats the right tackle, inside, which he doesn't on this play. But I'm saying, it could happen. So I like that's called the overlap technique. So good job with the overlap technique, putting his hand on the right guard, telling him he's there. The right guard vacates to go help the right tackle. McGovern's able to land that left arm into the chest of not number 98, and I like the hand reset here. You see how he's going to start to go into the bull rush, or he feels that bull rush. He wants to get better hand placement. His hand gets wiped away. Watch his right hand come under in the hook, stands him up. Good job right there by McGovern. All right, zone step, pivot around hand. We've talked about this a couple times, but it's another. This is a eerily similar play to the last play. Unless it's the same play. I guess it's not. All right. So again, they're running this like tight zone. Maybe call it inside zone if you want, tight zone. And McGovern does the same thing he did last time. He takes that zone step. The one tech is crossing his face. He's not going to panic and try to just get a push on him right away. He's going to let him define himself. He lets him define himself, gets his hand into the right hand into the chest, and he pivots around it, gets his hips in front of him. Good hand placement on both the hip with the left hand and the right arm into the shoulder, and he stands him up. That's a good play. Lets him define himself. Good hand placement, attacking the hip with the left hand, the center of gravity, covers the play side, and Lindsley gets some yards right there. So. Next, works hands. All right, yeah, so I remember this play. There's just a lot of hand fighting on this one. So he slides to his left hand, again, shooting from a pretty good base. Might be a little bit narrow, but I don't have too many qualms with that. Left hand into the chest. It gets wiped away. As that hand gets wiped away, you see him drop into his anchor a little bit more, like drop into his base, because he might be anticipating some bull rush. Double shoot. You have to be careful with double shoots because you don't want your hips to lock. But if you're confident, if it lands, great. Lands both of his hands into the chest. It stands the tackle up a little bit. His hands are a little bit high. Again, they get wiped away. McGovern resets his feet, comes in, double unders. I really like this hand fighting. Gets wiped up immediately. One, boom. There's no delay there. So really good job by him. Double unders. Now that number 99 tries to scrape over the top, whether for whatever reason, if he thinks he's going to get there to number 2. And McGovern again, double unders. Now that's not going to be effective, that left hand, because the guy's drifting away from it. So you want to be able to work into more of the body. Flips his hips, works his hand, boom, right into the rib cage, into the lower chest, wherever it ends up. So good job by him. Good hand fighting, etc. on that block from McGovern. Fake punch, something I always like to see in any offensive lineman games. Fake punches are great. to have in your arsenal. So you see that right hand. So he's blocking the one tech. You see that right hand. You see the right elbow. He's coming up with that fake punch and pulls it back. It might be the left arm a little bit too. It's a little bit hard to tell, but I know there's a fake punch. Definitely the right. The left could just be out and being ready, but he shoots that hand. And look at how the one tech responds. He's like a loose one. I'll call him more of a loose one than a 2-eye. And look how he responds to it. He tries to work laterally away from it and wipe it away. Swipe it away, wipe it away. I call it more of a swipe than a wipe. Wipe is more like upwards to me and like circular, like Mr. Miyagi, where a swipe is kind of like down or to the side. Just as little tiny differences. So goes to swipe it, and he's leaning into it. So he's off balance. Because of that fake punch, he set him up where he's both off balance and his chest is exposed. Boom, left hand right into the V of the chest, and gets good extension. Working off of the insteps, good leverage right here. Like I said, the angles pretty much the same. Your feet are going to be a little bit back to be able to drive into them. And they obviously want to be behind you. If they're too far upwards, you're just going to get toppled over. So good base right there. Good angle, extension, shuffles with them, completely out of the play. So good job by him. Plow is the next one. Again, he's always looking to do this. He has the stand up one tech over him, or the zero tech, the linebacker who drops into coverage. You see him throw out both of his drag hands to account for both of the A gaps. If he feels something hit this hand, he's gonna drop. He's gonna drop and take that. This hand, drop and take that. Whatever. His eyes are on the linebacker until the linebacker drops into coverage. McGovern obviously looks to the left and sees that number 66 is getting bull rushed a little bit backwards. Drops. Big shot. I'll play this in full speed, and you're gonna see a little bit of the big shot there, right into the ground. You love to see physical offensive linemen who are active, looking for contact and things like that. So, good job. Another plow here. It's probably most likely similar. Again, he has the one tech who he's going to block. He sees him drop into coverage. He has active eyes, looks to his left. There's nothing in the B gap and the A gap for him to block. So then he shifts, looks to the right, keeps his eyes on the right side. The 3 tech right there is going to maybe not even beat number 65 into the A gap, but he's at least threatening the A gap where there's no threat to the A gap or the B gap here, to his left side. So he looks to the right, sees that, plow. And again, nice shot. You'd like to see that. From defensive linemen, for offensive linemen, it could make defensive linemen a little bit tentative at times. So, good job by him. Short area quickness explosion. I showed it a couple times. When I'm going to put it down as a strength again. So this is good and bad for me, or from him to me. Again, sliding to his left in his gap protection, and he overcommits here. Now maybe if he was a little bit closer, maybe he could play long, cross shove, whatever it be, while staying square. He's looking to lay a big shot right here, and in the middle of going to lay that big shot, he has an oh shit moment where this guy, they're running this TE stunt, and he definitely overcommits to his hips right here. But that's the bad part of the play. This is the good part. I'm going to show this in full speed a couple of times. But the quickness to drop his post right here and get out onto Ingram is like the best short area explosion play that I'm going to show of McGovern. There's some other good ones, but this one you're watching it in real speed to check if you're not watching it in full speed. For an offensive lineman who's 300 plus pounds, that is really, really good. I'm going to play just from that spot again a couple times for you guys. That is really good short area explosion right there. Nice loose hips explosion off of the lower legs to be able to cover as much ground as he does right there, plus move his hips as he does. And he picks up number 54 just in case the quarterback did not scramble. So the bad, overcommitting. The good is that explosion right there. So the next play, quick pop. Okay, so they are running with the way the quarterback opens up. they're trying to fake it like it's a pitch to the right, whatever it may be. And it's some misdirection. They pitch it to the left, and McGovern is blocking down on the one tech, blocking back, blocking down. Some people call it different things. Some people just say, okay, blocking down. But how does a center block down? You could block down away from the play. If you're the center, you can call it blocking back. I usually call it blocking back, but it's also blocking down for me. Opens up his hips to the one tech. The one tech is trying to penetrate hard to that A gap. He gets his hand into the outside pectoral area. He's a little bit straight up, but he has a lot of contact he's working through. When your hands are, when you're sure you have solidified a lot of strength in or kind of pressure into your hands and push against, you being a little bit more straight up is okay. I wouldn't recommend it doing it often, especially if a guy's hand fighting you. But in this scenario, just try to get there quickly, gets his hands into him, extends them, and he ends up on the turf. So good job right there. I said I watched the stance a little bit, but it's okay. So the next play, locks up rush. Yeah, that number 97 is not going anywhere. And he's a big boy. He's a slanted one. He's probably 330, 340 right there. Is his name Meebane? Is that his name? I think it might be. Like Patrick Meebane or whatever the hell that guy's name is. I think that's him. I could be completely wrong. Meebane could be an offensive lineman, but for whatever reason, I think that's him. So he really likes to throw that inside arm. Inside arm lands on the chest again, staying square. He's not overcommitting to that punch. I think he's a solid base right here, nice and wide. Is relatively upright. He's not leaning too hard into the block, but he gets his left hand in. You can see it pops him a little bit. That's effective. So good punch right there. He gets his hand. You see he fights to get some bend in his elbow. You don't want to be completely locked out. It's easier to move when you're bending a little bit. You offer yourself a little bit more flexibility with your arm, with your elbow. So good job not locking it up, getting a little bend into there. He's definitely grabbing him right there. It's not going to get called for a hold, especially if he's not working laterally away from it. So gets his hand into there. And then as you'd see, as he starts to get into his chest with that long arm, he resets his hand to attack the main source of the rush, which is that arm. He's going to reset his hand into the elbow. He's lifting that elbow, drops into his anchor with a good base, working off of the insteps, and gets his right arm into the chest somewhere in this right. I think it's right there. Yeah. So the good thing about this is he's alternating. You don't want to take both of your hands off of a guy, especially when he's bull rushing you. If you take both your arms off to reset, now your chest is completely open. That's when you get blown up backwards. You want to alternate punches. You want to alternate resetting hands. That's just how it works. So I like that he has his left arm into his chest right here. But as he starts to come into that long arm, he gets his. You're gonna see the right, like the shoulder right there. He lands it. See the right gets into the chest right there. And then he alternates to control that elbow while dropping into his anchor. So good job by him right there for sure. Last 10 plays. This is play 53. Not his fault. I think this is one of the ones where I think, well, he didn't really open a hole. This is one of the ones I got on Twitter, I'm pretty sure. So another lead zone for the offense. Geez, I can't remember forgetting offense. There's so many things going on with Jets signing this guy. Now, do I do Dessert or Perryman first? I don't know if I'm going to do Amnoso or Amnusu, whatever the hell his name is. I forget how it's spelled already. Patrick Amnusu, whatever, from the Ravens. People are, oh, you're pronouncing it wrong. I haven't heard his name pronounced, and I forget the spelling already. So, bucket step. Again, and he's working against this guy. Looks like he's pretty aggressive. Yeah, he's aggressive and working into that one gap. So you see some of this again. Good footwork, good job working laterally, and even a little bit backwards. Again, gaining ground to lose ground. If he's working at the straight angle, you're not just going to cut him off like that. You have to loop around that angle to like I said, lose to gain. Does that with the bucket step. Gets his left arm into the chest. You see right there, right into the chest. And again, works that as a pivot point. You don't want to just work your hips around. You want to work a pivot point push against it while you're working your hips around it. It allows more looseness and flexibility in your hips when you're putting more of that pressure into that guy, and it also shuts him down a little bit, or slows him down. So good job getting his left hand into there. Gets low, works his hips, and now he almost has like that inside pillar. Not so much. He's not really taking like short, choppy steps, but he's just in front of him. And the running back doesn't do a good job. Like, listen, him reaching a aggressive one tech right there, he just did his job. He's in front of him. He's covering the play side. Now the running back, instead of doing what he's doing, I would see him get a little bit lower, more choppy steps, work to the inside, hope this guy, this defensive lineman reacts more to the inside, and then take the outside, or just trust yourself, widen out a little bit, and then look, you have a gap right there. So he cuts right back into where McGovern's working, and with him having to gain that ground with this aggressive guy, he's not going to be able to just completely shut down the rush like that. Like he's trying to, he slams as much as he can, but the running back cuts right back into him. So that is not McGovern's fault. That's a good block by McGovern. I think Freeman should have cut through here. And then guess what? You have one guy to beat. This guy is completely blocked. This guy has outside leverage. Hopefully he works. I don't know. Let's see if he works up to that DB. He doesn't, but he should. In the crack block, but you have one guy to beat. Beat him. Maybe you slip through, you break an arm tackle, and you're through for a touchdown. So I don't like Freeman's vision, to be completely honest. From what I watched his whole season pretty much. Wasn't really focusing on him, but I noticed a lot of bad footwork and angles and gaps and things that he was choosing. So I'm not a big fan of Royce Freeman. I believe that's his name at least. So McGovern versus one tech opens up to his right, because that's obviously where the one tech is to his right. He's on the McGovern's right side, to the offensive line's left side. Opens up to block him. He crosses his face. McGovern reacts by just shuffling to get in front of him. He lands his. I'm not sure if his left arm lands into the chest right here. It looks like it does. Yeah, it does. So he gets the right hand onto the outside shoulder and the left hand into the chest. He gets extension. As he extends them, that this is like a good play. It's just like smarts and like kind of just being like a natural at this type of stuff. Like him getting his hands on, extending, that that this defensive lineman, his response to that is going to be able to go right back into that hand. He wants that pressure on your chest to bull rush you back. So he knows he's going to start leaning forward through that hand. And guess what McGovern does? Chop down hard. Now number 92 is off balance. Chop down hard. Reset his hands. Left hand into the chest. Nice low base. Right hand into the rib cage and stands him up. Again, nice block from him. He's impressive. He's a solid center for sure. So play 55. This one's feeling a lot more smooth than last time. You see how I was saying I was rusty last time? I definitely liking this one more. Define movement. Let's see what happens on this play. All right. So again, they're running a tight zone split. Now look at this for the running back. Huge hole. Which is all you can ask for. You're running for interior gaps. That's what you can ask for. The running back should be able to beat one guy, which he ends up getting a few yards. But again, he's not trying to take footwork where he's covering the gap or anything like that, because it is a tight zone. If this one tech is going to define himself, or the two I tech more is going to define himself into that A gap, B gap, take him there. That's fine. Now he has some room to be able to overcommit here, because number 55, which I think is McKinney, works down to the hash a little bit. So he gives himself more room to be able to do that. I would watch it though. If he was staying more in the middle, McKinney, he overcommits right here, but he, again, because of the situation, he has his eyes on him. So again, hand inside, attack the hips, the ribs, push him. Don't want to overcommit. Got to be a little bit more careful with that, because that he gets to McKinney, and he's not covering the play. So I would like to see him, even though McKinney is on that play side, I would like to see him disengage like now and then work up. He just stays for an extra step or two, and then McKinney, if McKinney was to want to scrape over top at this point, he probably could, but he just gets him by a hair. So I would watch that overcommitting a little bit, but works up again, gets his hands inside, doesn't pop block him. He actually kind of does pop block him a little bit, but McKinney is just standing still. So good and bad right there, but he really defines that gap by getting him his hand into the hip right there and the left hand inside. So good job. Next play, stunt pickup square. Yeah. Okay. So again, we've talked about a lot of stunt pickups. I'll quick. I don't have to be too quick with this, but you have a stand up, one tech as a linebacker. He's going to penetrate that A gap. Number 97 is going to loop around. McGovern drops to his right, keeps his eyes up, does not overcommit. You see how his hips. This is where I talk about like playing long, with that cross shove right here that he does. Hips are completely square still, completely square. And if anything, he's really kicking that left foot back to be able to drop to get, to cover number 97 and get to number 97. So I like the footwork, cross the little cross shove, stays square, left hand inside, right hand into the armpit shoulder pad, and completely shuts down the rush of number 97. So nice, really nice stomp pick up again for him. We have 6 plays left, I think. Define for touchdown. I feel like this isn't a big define, but it's enough of a define. Yeah, okay. So that's enough. So they are running called a tight zone, belly zone. It almost looks like a read option, but it's not a read option. I'm not doing read option with this is lock. Maybe it is, but it doesn't look like this. That's not the play call. If there's a read option, just like an inside zone read option on a basic level, not like a Wham read or a Mike read or whatever it might be. They would not block this guy most likely, but that happens, and the linebacker safety, whatever he is, blitzes at the last second off the edge. So their aiming point right now is the backside A gap on that belly zone, and McGovern comes off the snap low. Nice low wide base. He's leaning a little bit, but he's fighting against quick penetration, left hand inside, and look at the flexibility in the knees and the legs right here. This is talk about like flexible, like you need that flexibility to bend in the knees, to bend in the legs. It's funny because I remember when I proposed to my fiance that people were talking about, I always talk about ankle flexibility. And when I took the picture of me down on the knee, like, oh, look at the flexibility in his ankles, which a lot of people comment on that. So I still appreciate all you guys for commenting. That was fantastic. It, it brightened up my day even more than it was already brightened up. So left hand inside, driving off the insteps really, really, really low. And he just defines a little bit, that little bit right there. So he takes them from like the middle of the two hashes to just another yard outside of it, defining it. Look, the NFL is not a game of feet. It's not even a game of inches, a game of millimeters. Maybe if he doesn't move him as much, maybe he can reach his arm out. Maybe Lindsley steps on his foot. It's a game of centimeters, millimeters, micrometers. I don't know if micrometers is a thing. It just sounds like it's really small. So good job by McGovern on that play. Play 58 out of 62. I think this is the last game of the season. I think maybe I didn't record. I don't know. Let's see. So he hops back. I gotta watch that hop a little bit. He just trying to create some distance, but when he hops back, look what his arms do. He's vulnerable. You have to watch that. So that's just a little side note. But he's hopping back to create some ground. He's dropping what is the post foot at first, right hand on into the shoulder, left hand into the shoulder, right hand into the shoulder and left hand inside somewhere. And I like how he keeps him nice and tight, and he just drives him right out of the play. So the thing with holding, there's holding on a lot of offensive plays, especially the offensive line. When you're grabbing and you're extended, or the little bit of you're extended 90%. It becomes much more obvious when you're holding and you're swaying a lot with your arms to a ref. But when you do grab, you get them tight. It's harder to see. It's a lot less obvious when you're tight than when you're extended. So I like how on this play how he gets that right hand into the shoulder, and yes, he is holding, but look, he's tight. It's not going to get called often, and just drives him right out of the play. Gives his quarterback even a cleaner pocket than it already was. So. Positive play. Fourth two last to play. Oh, so that wasn't the last game. I guess I only recorded one or two plays from that game so I guess nothing really stood out. I guess this is the last game against the Lions. Fake punch, left hand, fake punch. And the defensive lineman reacts to it. Undoubtedly, he reacts to it. He goes to swipe, chop it, something that's not there. It's a little bit late. You think he'd kind of retreat what he was going to do quicker than that, but he doesn't look like he's very good. Left hand fake. He leans into McGovern. McGovern is able to get both of his arms underneath, or at least his left hook underneath. The right arm is on the outside shoulder, it seems, as he bull rushes. Look how far he drops that left foot, working off that instep. To create that pressure, like I said, you want at least one of those feet to be back to create that pressure off that instep to fight against the pressure. Left hook in, and stays with the block. Good job. Being a little more quick on these last ones. I don't want to make the show too long. I don't know how long it would be now if I stopped it, but we only got 3 plays left. So I'm hoping people enjoy it. Listen, it's offensive linemen, but the people who do listen, who do watch, like I said, I've had a lot of people, say they tell their friends and stuff like that. That is more appreciated than the ratings, the reviews, great. Reaching out to friends and stuff like that. There's no other podcast who does film reviews like this of Jets players. There's great ones for the Bills. Cover One's a good friend of mine. There's guys for the Ravens, a Film Study Ravens guy. There's like a bunch of stuff, but who does film reviews of the Jets? So I think fans being educated about who's coming to their teams, both the negatives, the positives, and not just looking at Pro Football Focus and regurgitating things they hear from some guys in the media, whether it be guy A, B, C, D, beat writers, some draft guys who I think are connected to teams. I'm not going to name names. There's definitely guys who are huge guys who are connected to teams and just say what they hear. But when it comes to actual film, I see very little knowledgeable things in their film where they might put up a play. Oh, great power. Cool, man. Like great power. Like, so I'd appreciate people knowing about something, actually talking about legitimate technique. And for the people who do that, I know there's people who do that. And I don't necessarily know who all of you are. Bravo. I appreciate it more than even though I don't know you. So, but McGovern has nothing to block. He gets depth. You don't want to be too far up the field, and not be able to pick up loopers or anything like that. So you want to maintain your depth with your other offensive linemen. You don't want to stay on the same level, because of what I said. Drops back, throws out that drag hand. Eyes are active. He looks to his right and he looks to the middle. He sees number 44 is coming. This is the part I like the most, is that he doesn't react to number 44 and chase him. So this is like the patience I show throughout his reps, that he's smart. He's not going to chase him, and then maybe a guy can penetrate to the A gap. So number 44 presses down, and he's still keeping his depth, not chasing him. You see his eyes active, scan. He closes ground. He knows that he has the right guard of the system. Right hand into the chest. Half body is more than half body. It's clear he's just giving a hand to that block. There's a better word for just dedicating a hand to that block. That's what I should say. Gets his hand into the chest. His eyes are on to the A gap, assisting the left guard if he needs it. He doesn't, and he keeps his right hand onto number 44 right there. So really good job. Play 61. Plays long. All right. Slanted one. Another sun pickup. Like I said, he likes to throw that inside hand. Solid base. A little bit of lean, but not too much. It's fine. He leans for it just a little bit, but it's okay. Left-hand side. But again, he's not overcommitting. His hips aren't completely square, but it's not a terrible thing. You want to see your hips completely square. But in this case, it doesn't end up as a bad thing. So it lands that left arm inside, keeps it there and shuffles, creating some power into that punch. Sees that the loop is coming. Drops the post right there with that left foot. Hands inside and picks it up. Oh, his hands actually don't land inside, but and you're gonna see him go off balance right here. A lot of people like a lot of things I see on Twitter too are people putting up a bull rush, and then people don't look at the feet. His feet is crossed right here with the right guard. So if he got trucked back right here, is it really the worst thing? No. Would you like to see him have a little bit more awareness with his feet and things like that? Maybe, depending on the situation. But he still shuts down the stunt right there. So last play, good pass set. All right. Hand fighting was the last one. Let's see. Yep. Okay. So for the last play, pass set, he shuffles immediately because they are going to pull that guard. They're running play action, so they're pulling that guard to sell their play action even more, which it does. Look, the linebackers react to that. Is number 82 going to run like a slant? Okay, no. So the looks like the slot or the outside receiver to the I guess you can call it the boundary side, runs a slant. So he's open. He should hit him right now. I don't know if he does. He doesn't. So you'd like to see him hit that a little bit quicker and come off of that first read, whatever it may be right there. But he needs to hit number 14 right there, which he does. It's just a little bit later than it probably should have been. But regardless, whatever. So he shuffles to fill that vacated gap of the left guard who pulls. Good base, left hand into the chest. Boom, lands it. Extends, sinks. The defensive lineman tries to work that, I guess, that left hand inside of him. You're going to see McGovern come down, chop that. So you're seeing that the defensive lineman is trying to control the wrist or the elbow. I don't know where it ends up with the left hand inside. So they're working kind of opposites. And he's leaning into that left hand. McGovern chops it off balance. Now he's off balance. McGovern resets that chop. Boom. Right into his chest. This is really, really important. Nice tight hand movements, hand fighting. It's really, really one of the biggest things, if not the biggest thing for us offensive linemen. Chops it, lands it. And then left hand is looks like it's outside of the maybe. Whatever. The left hand lands underneath, like in that hook type fashion, into the defensive lineman. Let me see that though. Maybe it's on the wrist. So he lands the right underneath, and then the right lands on the wrist of the extended right arm now. The defensive lineman tries to work inside. He shuffles back to outside. McGovern disengages, shuffles to the outside. Left hand again. Look, boom, right into the chest. That's a good punch, good torque. You see that torque from the hips? Torque from the hips. Driving off the insteps, nice and low, hops back and stands him up while the right hand is now controlling the left arm. Like there's so much just like hand fighting, him resetting his hands, punching, good punches, strong punches. So good job by him. Like I said, I gave the overall view of him, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. His strengths, his weaknesses. I think he's a top 8 to 12 guys. I have to watch all the other centers in the league to be able to determine exactly where he falls. Definitely a plus starter for the Jets. Really liked his film. Thought they got him at a good price. I appreciate everybody for listening. Like I said, spread the word, please. If you want to subscribe to the show, like I said, if you're watching on YouTube, I think like halfway through, you'll be able to see all the plays, and then at about the halfway point, it's gonna like green over with like JetX subscribe or whatever. You can subscribe. You can just listen to me on the podcast app if you don't want to subscribe to that point. So maybe you do half the YouTube video, half the podcast. But if you want to subscribe and you're not sure how to, just go to jetx.com, whatever. And you can figure out how to subscribe there. Or on the bottom of the YouTube in the comments, there's going to be a link to click to subscribe. It's 2-3 cups of coffee, a month. I think it's worth it for the content you're getting with not only myself but with Sabo, who does a mixture of some film. Some articles with like more like thoughts and things like that, and you have Nania, who does like strictly he does some articles too, and then he also does some really, really good stats, and then we're having some other things in the works as well. So I think it's worth it. I appreciate everybody for listening. I'll be active on Twitter. This should be posted tonight. Let's see, it's 3:30 on Wednesday right now, so hopefully it's posted in a couple of hours. Tomorrow I will be putting up Perryman. I got to grind out 7 games of him tonight, so I'm going to do that. Put up Perryman, do a show on Perryman in a couple of days. I'm going to do like the Sear, and then depending on how fans' reaction is to the I'm Nosu or whatever his name is signing, maybe he gets priority over Van Roten or Fant. But one of those 3 guys or 2 of those guys, and then we're going to start breaking into again fan votes. We're going to put up a vote of like probably Wills, Wirfs, Judy, and Lamb or Chase on and see what people want. But plenty of things to come your way. I appreciate everybody for listening. I will see you guys in a couple of days in the podcast. If not, I'll be interacting with you on Twitter. Have a good day.